Joining me today as my guest is Josh Ellman from Nasdaq Advisory Services. Josh covers the consumer and retail industries. Josh, it's great to have you back on the program.
Thanks for having me.
So today we're going to talk about consumer and retail. What's going on with those sectors at the moment?
Yeah, so it's kind of funny. I kind of liken being here to Groundhog Day.
Yes.
And I will get to that in a little bit. But just to remind folks of our last conversation, we had very strong December holiday sales. We had the unveiling of tax reform. So there was a lot of excitement around consumer discretionary and the potential for consumers to be opening up their wallets even further coming off of late last year. And a lot of the data has supported that. We've seen some strong economic data that's come in for the first quarter. However, we've had a little bit of a hiccup in terms of overall retail sales. Monthly U.S. retail sales have now dropped 3 consecutive quarters, and this has caused a little bit of some confusion and consternation among economists. And as a result, a lot of the economists out there have started to ratchet down their first quarter GDP forecasts. In fact, if you're looking at the Atlanta Fed's GDP model, it now sits at 1.8%, and that's down from 5.4% at the beginning of February. So a dramatic drop, pretty much a result of some of the weak retail sales results that we've been seeing over time. And now we're starting to get some of the excuses that come in, whether it be weather-related, late tax refunds, kind of a slowdown after last year's spending around the storms and the hurricanes, as well as some potential issues around how the data is collected. So there's, everyone's trying to figure out why we're getting this first quarter malaise when it comes to retail spending. And I mentioned Groundhog Day because this is now the 3rd consecutive first quarter where we've had kind of perplexing noise around GDP when there was a lot of excitement for the first quarter. So we'll see what happens in terms of GDP, but right now the momentum is thwarted, and economists again are starting to ratchet down their forecasts.
Sure. So even off the heels of some negative headlines with regard to major retailers closing down U.S. stores, for example, how does that impact the consumer? So my question for you is, are consumers still confident?
Yeah, they are very confident, and we just got a reading from the University of Michigan Consumer Sentiment Survey. That came in its highest since 2004. As consumers feel very confident about the direction of the economy and their prospects. We also got a reading from the Conference Board, and their reading of consumer confidence came in at the highest level since the year 2000. So overall, the consumer is feeling very strong, and with the unveiling of tax reform and tax cuts, as well as the potential for wage growth, which has been very stubborn at the moment, but forecasters are projecting better wages ahead. There's still a lot of excitement around consumers and how confident they are.
Awesome. Josh, my final question for you is with regard to an event that's happening right now out on the West Coast, I believe, Shop Talk.
Yes.
So that's happening now. I believe it kicked off yesterday. Are there any kind of headlines that those that follow the consumer retail space or those that work, for example, as IR professionals in these sectors should be paying attention to?
Sure. So retail is changing dramatically and fast. There's actually too much to cover in this conversation, but there's been some interesting trends that have really been in focus the last 6 to 9 months, I would say. We're starting to see a lot of consumer-oriented companies invest heavily into delivery, whether that be in-house or utilizing third-party delivery services. And I think there'll be more to come around delivery, but consumer-oriented companies are really starting to figure out how best to get goods in the consumer's hands. We've also seen some interesting trends around consumer-oriented companies offering ancillary services once the consumer purchases a product.
Sure.
For example, we had IKEA a few months ago acquire TaskRabbit, allowing the potential for IKEA customers to have TaskRabbit service members come to their homes and put together the furniture themselves, saving them a lot of time and frustration. So At the end of the day, companies are really laser focused on trying to make a seamless process for the consumer. And then you mentioned Shop Talk, which is being held in Las Vegas.
Yep.
We just got the other day that Macy's said that they were rolling out mobile checkout
Yes.
across their store base. So that's another way in which a company is investing in technology to make the shopping process a lot more seamless and easy. So there's more to come. There's obviously a lot to cover, but those are kind of three general trends in terms of technological innovation and investment in the space.
Awesome. Well, Josh, I appreciate your insight. That's terrific. Thank you very much.
Thanks for having me.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, this was Josh Ellman, a consumer and retail analyst from Nasdaq Advisory Services here at Nasdaq Corporate Solutions. Thank you so much for tuning in to this edition of Advisory Live. Again, I want to remind you that we're powered by Nasdaq IR Insight, and you can find more information about our IR solutions if you visit our website at business.nasdaq.com. We'll be back to you soon with another episode. Thanks so much for tuning in, and thank you, Josh.
Yep.